Coming to you, undead from the crypt. This is Adelaide Horror Podcast. Adelaide Horror Podcast with Zombie Joe.
Hi and welcome to the Adelaide Horror Podcast. It's your host, Zombie Joe. Tonight's episode is number 34. I'm continuing on with the international series, and so I picked the country of France. And so my French favourite horror film that I picked, which is a classic zombie action horror, which is La Horde from 2009, written and directed by Yannick Duhan and Benjamin Raucher. This film is filmed in France, in Paris. It's a French movie, English subtitles, and was released in February 2010 in France, and we got it in Australia in July of that year. It's an hour and a half long film, half an hour, and it goes straight into the action. There's no fiddling around with trying to get everyone's character building or info dumps or anything like that. Is just straight to the point. The directors and the writers know the audience. This is a movie for 15-year-old boys, like and up and big 15-year-old boys, and straight to the point. No mucking around about the feelings. Just straight into it. I want to see zombies, blood and guts. It's on. So the premise of this film is the cops get together after one of their colleagues is killed by the members of a Nigerian drug gang that has taken the top level of this penthouse, well, kind of penthouse, in the low socio-economic area of this apartment block in Paris, which is quite predominant. And they've featured in other French movies. If you've seen other French movies around that area, you see these houses, the apartment blocks. England's got them as well. So the gang has taken over the top floor of this thing and pretty much runs the building. So everyone in there all works for these guys, the gang. And so these cops get together, off the books operation, because they've rocked in civvies with balaclavas and weapons, and there's an iconic kind of Tarantino boot scene that they put in there, which I thought was pretty cool. So the directors and the writers are pretty good at what I've noticed in this film. Essentially, this movie is Judge Dredd, is The Raid, and is Dawn of the Dead put together, influenced by these three films, and have not copied any of them, which is really impressive. If there's nods to the movie, I missed them, but I didn't see it. I just thought, okay, these guys are really inspired by these three films, and they've gone out, they've sat down, and they've done a script, and they've shot a film that is outside of these three films, but you could tell was influenced by it. So that's why I really dug this film and why I picked it tonight. The cast for this is Argh, which is Claude Perron, or Oracem, played by Jean-Pierre Martins, Jimenez, played by Oriane Riconing, and Tony is played by Antonique Oppiem. Classic Joe. I've spilt some fucking coffee across my notes, and I've sat there, and it's made most of all these French names go running down my page, and I'm like, yeah, rightio. It's year 12 oral presentation all over again. So they're the cops, and the baddies is Ordinaire, which is played by Eric Aubonnet, and Bowler is his brother in the movie, played by Dudu Mastar, and Jose is played by Jose Prestiera. He's actually an Italian actor and MMA or kickboxing champion. This dude's a hard ass. But in the movie, he reminded me of the guy from Die Hard, like with the pulled not back hair. Also, the guy from Ghostbusters, the in the painting, had a similar face to him. So that was pretty cool. And another cast member that you see later on in the film that gets introduced is Rene, played by Yves Pinault, and he's a French. In this movie, he plays a French Vietnam veteran. So for those that are not aware at home, pre-America joining in 1965, the French tried to, well, they did colonize it, but they had their French version of the Vietnam War during the 50s. So they were in the thick of it with the Viet Cong at that point. And then they lost and they retreated, and the Americans came in on that one in 65. That's all I'm going to say. I'm not going to say any other controversial things. I'm just going to say this is what's happened, da-da-da. So it's interesting to see in a movie you see a French Vietnam veteran. A lot of people will be like, what the hell's he on about? Like, so that comes up in conversation and in hints, and a few times he refers to Asian people in a pretty derogatory term in French. So there's a bit of a warning on that one if that's going to trigger you a bit. It's in the subtitles. How I viewed this movie was via YouTube, unfortunately. I couldn't get I think I had to order it to get the DVD, unfortunately, but in order to view it, and I can send the link to anyone that's pretty keen on it, it's English dubbed, however, it's not in French. So I somehow managed to get a copy of one that's in French, but there's no English subtitles. I had a bit of a hard time kind of tracking something down to watch, but unfortunately wasn't the case, excuse me. And so, yeah, I watched it in English. I definitely give this movie 8 out of 10. One of the enjoyable international French films is the thing. So, premise of this movie, like I said, the cops rock up to do an off-the-books vigilante hit on these gang members, and it goes wrong during the thing. One gets injured, and they're all bailed up in this room. Tarantino style dialogue going on. That's a bit of a nod. You can tell these guys are influenced from it. So there was the hostage in the bathroom, and these guys are at gunpoint. They got the cops pinned down into a wall at gunpoint, like holding them there. And so the cops are kind of stuffed, like pretty much stuffed. Like, these guys are going to go, right, execution tile, here we go. And right when all this is happening, the apocalypse occurs. And the guy keeps saying to them how many cops are outside, because the guys are going, it's only us. And they're going, bullshit, because they can hear all the sirens. But they didn't know that the sirens are because of the zombies and other stuff, and screaming and all this other stuff. So the gang members are on edge because they don't know what's going on. And then it just kind of kicks off from there. I'm not going to say what happens or how it kicked off, but I'll leave that completely open for you to watch and to view it. And so once the zombie stuff kind of settles in, these guys have to form an unlikely truce and start to survive the night by going through the building. The thing that I really dug about this is that there was no bullshit, fluffy dialogue. It was like they fucking hated each other through this thing. There was no let up in this thing at all. It's not like, oh, okay, well, we've got to kind of, survive this. No, it was like, I don't want to turn my back because I know you're the fucker that would shoot me. And that kind of tension was there the whole time between the actors. Fantastic acting by everybody. Like, it was really realistic tension between these guys. They fucking hated each other. But they had no choice but to be in the same room with each other and to do things. And even when that kind of sense there was a bit of a let up, one guy would say something to somebody or have a jab at somebody, and it was on, man. They'd run across the room and start punching. It was so well done. And you had to deal with this throughout the whole entire film, just them at each other's throats, but at the same time surviving and then killing zombies as they kind of went through. So, yeah, it was pretty good in that sense, and hence why I dug the film. So, there's a pretty iconic scene that these guys ended up creating, which I could have sworn I've seen in a zombie video game, but I don't know which one came first off the top of my head. So it was pretty cool. I dug that for that as well. So when we get introduced to the Vietnam veteran on this one here, he helps them kind of clear the rest of the way down the apartment, because this guy's got this cache of weapons that he's managed to stockpile because of where he lives, and he can't give them up or something. I missed it in the film. I think it was something like he had to give them back and he didn't want to, so he just kind of hung on to them and hid them and never owned up to having them. But because of the neighborhood that he lived in as well, he kept it. And so they've got like semi-automatic machine guns now. They've got grenades. They've got he's got this full I'm not sure of the caliber gun that he had, but it was like a full machine gun, like with the belt and everything. It was really good. So it was kind of like, because he was a Vietnam veteran, he was kind of waiting for something like this to happen, because he was like a kid in a candy shop. Like, once he stood in this narrow kind of tunnel, and all these zombies came in, he just lit up, and this guy, he was enjoying every minute of it, and it was just hilarious. It was just kind of like, I've been waiting for this for so long. So it was. I really liked Renee's character. It was quite funny, and so they eventually, as the movie goes on, work their way down to the bottom of the apartment, and they kind of just start getting picked off, and then it becomes daylight, and it's kind of the end of the movie, and you kind of see who makes it out at that point. And there's no, when this movie ends, there's no like, oh, this is possibly like a sequel. It just ends. That's it. It's just straight to the point. Bang, this is the film. Like, no mucking around. And that's why I kind of dug it as well. So yeah, 2009 La Horde. Definitely check it out, and yeah, go on YouTube. You'll find it on YouTube, but there's one in English subtitle, and then there's the French one, which is just in French. Like, there's no English subtitle. So yeah, definitely check out the English subtitle version, or just let me know and I can send you the link for that as well. And I can also send you the link to this other film. So while researching the show, I enjoyed the fact that I came to the realization that France actually has a lot to answer for for cinema, like for us to actually enjoy cinema, Hollywood and everything, because the French, it was a French gentleman by the name of Joseph Nicophron Nepis, who in 1826 invented the camera. So French guy invents the camera. Before that, there's all this thespian Shakespeare theatre stuff going on, and so eventually the two were going to marry together. In 1888, this is an interesting one. You got Louis Le Prince, which is a cracking name, and he invents the motion picture camera, where there's all these different lenses, and that captures moving a picture. I think he filmed the first, what I can remember is the first thing he filmed was his son playing an accordion, and then there was it was in England, and he took a picture of the Leeds Bridge. However, the thing gets interesting because in 1890 he disappears. So I'm going to follow up. I'm going to send you the link to this. Unsolved Mysteries covered this. And the two guys from Unsolved Mysteries, their names escape me now, but I enjoyed the show very much. They go into depth about the mysterious disappearance of Louise Le Prince in 1890. So I've covered the link. So all the true crime people watching this or listening to this, the link is there, and definitely follow up that true crime kind of mysterious disappearance of the guy that invents the motion camera picture, who happens to come from France. And then in 1896, the first horror film was made, and it's a French horror film. So the French come out with this first horror film called The House of the Devil. And I've also added the link to that one as well. It goes for 3 minutes. I don't know, there's original sound to this. Like, some people have kind of just tapped on their own little kind of 1800-ish kind of music to it, but it wouldn't be the original, and I don't think there would have been any sound. So it's kind of, they kind of tacked this stuff on, but I found one that didn't sound as bad, so that's good. So enjoy that. But I just kind of dug that. I just thought, wow, you know, without these guys, there would be no cinema that we come to enjoy now, and how far we've come from the 1880s to now, where, you know, we're watching movies on our phone that does this video camera. You know, it's amazing what we do now with our technology. It would have been cool if you could actually go back in time and tell this guy, these men, you know, wow, look what, you know, you guys have done to help this come along, and why we get to enjoy now sitting in a movie theater watching these movies, because these guys invented the camera, invented the motion camera, and then eventually the evolution of theater, drama, and camera came together, and we could start filming plays and actors and actresses, and hence why these movies were created. So I really dug that premise, and thank you, France, for contributing massively to this. And so when you look at French cinema, it's, yeah, you know, not necessarily horror. Like, they've come out with some real fantastic pieces of cinema over the years. So thank you, France. That was great. So yeah, and that's it for me tonight, pretty much. It's a short and very sharp and shiny episode. As you know, I took a 6-month hiatus from the show, intentionally and unintentionally. I actually wanted to come back by the time of October, but that just didn't eventuate due to me being very sick, and then trying to just get my voice back and lungs and stuff. It was the whole thing. And also too, we've got a little one, an infant as well, so just trying to get him all settled as well, and us into a routine. And then we all returned back to work as well, so our paternity leave kind of finished, and yeah, so all work stuff kind of kicked off as well. So that's just kind of filling in about what happened, why there was a bit of a 6-month gap in between the episodes. But the thing that I found that I really enjoyed was that I was able to sit down and watch horror again without a notepad, or without thinking about whether it was just switching the brain off and having a beer, smashing some popcorn, and really getting back to enjoying just watching horror films again, and TV shows. The TV shows as well, horror TV shows have just really improved as well, and really dug that. So definitely reviewing them later on at some stage, but I'm just continuing on with the international series at the moment. So yeah, the French recommendations for other horror films that were French. Now, Citane was the other one with Vincent Cassel. He's one of my favourite actors. My all-time favourite French actor is Jean Reno. If anyone knows me, I love the movie Heat, and I love the movie Ronin. And Jean Reno in those, and also Jean Reno in Godzilla was pretty funny when he played an American, when he pretended he was an American soldier and talked like fucking Elvis. Like, that was pretty funny. But yeah, Jean Reno, yeah, one of my favourite actors. So Citane is the first one with Vincent Cassel, about these guys. They party on, they hook up with these chicks, they go, these girls live in the countryside. We all know this little Perla situation, and Daddy, the French farmer, is a bit of a fucking nut job. So these guys have to survive their time on this farm with this guy, and it just gets progressively more crazier and crazier as the film goes on. Vincent plays two characters in this, and you just got to check it out. It is just balls to the wall, batshit crazy in a good way, and very good French horror film. Crimson River was the next one. Now, this is a classic case of a Mandela effect. For years, I thought Sylvester Stallone was in this movie. I don't know why. Like, I do not know why. I've actually told people this. Check out this French movie with Vincent Cassel and Sylvester Stallone. Obviously, they haven't, because they didn't come back to me saying, dickhead, Sylvester Stallone wasn't in this film. But definitely check it out. Crimson River. It was set in the Alps, the French Alps. It's a crime almost / horror film, but it starts to become a horror film because it's more like to do with serial killers, but it's more full on. And it's got, Vincent Cassel and Jean Reno, and it's a really good one. The other good one is As Above, So Below, set in Paris, and that was a really good one. And also Deep House, that was one that came out as well. I think roughly during the COVID period, I dare say, when I came out, and I checked that out and I really dug it. That creeped me out in a good way, and it was a long time that a film creeped me out. It's not terrifying, but it creeped me out, and I enjoyed it for that. So they're my French horror film recommendations for that. And yes, so anyway, enjoy the rest of the evening. It's great to be back. Like, I'm very, very happy to be back. And thanks for the other people who have messaged while I was away as well, how everything was going. And yes, I'm back reanimated, I should say. And so stay scary, and I will see you in the crypt.